What is this music? What are we in the Shire? Cut it out. Alright, well, the first leg of our trip, we headed out from Baltimore, crossed through New York, and landed in Connecticut at a little place known as New England Brewing Company. Now, when I say little place, I mean it was a little place. But, of course, that didn't stop them from making some pretty good brews. And it was little, as you can see. But luckily, they were in the process of getting ready for a big move to a larger facility. Now, what made these guys cool was that they were one of the first craft brewers to brew in cans. As you can see from the floor-to-ceiling cans that they had lined up right next to their equipment. Now, despite us not really having a chance to inform these guys that we were coming, they still set aside some time and talked to us, which was great. The guy that we got to speak to, besides the owner, was Sebastian. He allowed us to interview him, and he even showed us around the facility. Even though it was small, it was still nice to actually see how these smaller operations work in comparison to larger ones. And of course, one of the greatest things to know when you first arrive at these places is the history behind it. So I'll let Sebastian take that one.
Well, the history for New England can be a little confusing. It actually started in Norwalk, Connecticut, and the current owner actually was the head brewer of that brewery that was in Norwalk, and then things happened and he decided that he wanted to open up his own brewery. He took the name of New England Brewing, decided that he wanted to keep the name but bring it up to New Haven. He's from the area, and he opened this brewery about 10 years ago in this spot. And at that time, still craft breweries were not what they are today. You know. And then the current head brewer right now, Matt Westfall, came to New England about 5 years ago, I believe, and basically revamped everything in a sense, like made it up to date to what it is today. You know, what craft beers are today. We have our Nelson Sauvin, our Coriolis double IPA is our all Nelson Sauvin double IPA. Nelson Sauvin is a hop from New Zealand, so we decided to call it Coriolis, which is the Coriolis effect, which is like a hurricane or a blizzard that's going the other direction, as it would in the northern hemisphere. So because it's New Zealand, it's the southern hemisphere.
Nice, okay.
And let's see, we have our Tempted Red Rum, which is our barley wine aged in rum barrels. Ganibot, I'm sure, is the most popular of all our beers. The reason for that is some double IPA. IPA standing for India Pale Ale. So Gandhi from India, and Bot, because it's a robot in a can, metallic, metal. Is a story that apparently there was a sea hag in the waters of New Haven that went on ships and would take them over, like kind of like a pirate in a sense. But it was just a myth story that Rob decided to name his beer Sea Hag. It's in New Haven. 668 is our Belgian Golden Ale. 668 is the neighbor of the beast. So 666 being the beast, his neighbor is 668. So the label on the can is just a guy standing in his front lawn with a 668 mailbox and then big flames next door as if it was his neighbor. To drink on a regular basis, I would say Elm City Pilsner. It's our most, I would say, Rob always calls it beer-flavored beer, is what you think of when you think of beer, like the flavor of it, like the original, like what the mass consumer would think of beer. It's basically a Pilsner or a lager, so light, refreshing, just a beer that you want at the end of the day and you're tired and you're just like, I want a beer. That's the beer you go to. I also love, my other favorite would be Galaxy Pale Ale. It's actually released it just now. It's our all Galaxy hop Pale Ale. So light, only 4.8%, really drinkable, big, huge aromas. Very good beer. I definitely like it the best. Well, we just got our canning line, so that's a huge step for us. We will be moving soon to a larger facility so that we can have more room for fermenters, produce more beer. We want to increase our experimental or research phase. Like we have the small system that we want to brew smaller batches and get very creative. We definitely want to have more sour beers, barrel-aged beers, and definitely get into being much more creative and out there and wacky, even more than possible. Growing, obviously, I mean, for that we need the space so that we're going to move. And I mean, we're right on track so far. So far so good. So cross our fingers.
Great.
Yeah.
Nice man.
So I wanted to end this post with actually trying the beer. When we were up in Connecticut and at the brewery, I actually wanted to purchase some of the 668. The cans are really cool, and I think it's a really funny concept, so I wanted to purchase it, but they're in such high demand down there that there was actually none that I could buy from the brewery, so I actually had to drive literally across the street to a liquor store in order to purchase it. Also, while I was there, I purchased this 668 glass, because why not? Here's the can to the neighbor. There's a mailbox, it says 668, and then on the side is just flames. Well, let's give it a go, shall we? Alright, well, here's to you, New England Brewing Co. Thanks for receiving us with such class, even though we kind of snuck it up on you. And I hope you expand your distribution. I like to see in Maryland that Galaxy. I was quite a fan. This 668 better be good as hell. Get it? It's a joke. I mean, joke.